Okay, so most of us have heard of osteoarthritis, right? The common wear and tear kind of arthritis. But what if I told you there's another version of it that's way more aggressive, way more inflammatory, and just plain destructive? It's one that has had scientists scratching their heads for decades. So let's dive in and see what they've discovered. We're essentially going to investigate a painful medical mystery. And the central question is this: what is it that turns a pretty common ailment into a condition that literally destroys joints? We're going to follow the clues that researchers have uncovered as they've tried to crack this very case. So this destructive condition has a name. It's called erosive osteoarthritis, or EOA for short. And let me tell you, this is not your typical arthritis. It tends to hit suddenly, and it comes with a lot of inflammation. But its real defining feature, the thing that makes it stand out, is how it actually erodes the bone, right in the center of the joint. This can create a really distinct gull wing shape on an X-ray, which is a total telltale sign for doctors. And this leads us to the very core of the investigation. For a long, long time, the big debate has been this: is EOA its own unique disease, a completely separate thing? Or is it simply the most severe, worst-case scenario on the osteoarthritis spectrum?
So, where do you even start looking for answers? Well, the first logical place is the crime scene itself, the joints. The idea was that by analyzing the patterns of damage, researchers might find some clues that would point them in one direction or the other.
And that's exactly what a major study did. Researchers went through and meticulously mapped out which specific joints were being affected in patients with EOA. Then they compared that map to patients with severe but non-erosive osteoarthritis. And this right here is where the first major clue comes in. When the researchers ranked which finger joints were getting hit the hardest, the pattern for erosive OA was almost a perfect mirror image of the pattern for severe non-erosive OA. Both of them primarily target the exact same spots, the second, third, and fifth joints closest to your fingertip. And this wasn't just some casual observation. We're talking about a statistical correlation between the two patterns of over 0.95. Now, to put that in perspective, a perfect match is 1.0. So a number this high is like finding two sets of fingerprints at a crime scene that are virtually identical. This is incredibly powerful evidence for the theory that EOA is just the worst-case scenario for regular osteoarthritis. So with such a close match, it seems like an open and shut case, doesn't it? EOA is just really, really bad osteoarthritis. Well, not so fast. Just when all the evidence pointed one way, a completely unexpected clue turned up that changed everything. The investigation took a really sharp turn when researchers started looking beyond the X-rays and started digging into the patient's overall health records. They began to wonder if maybe there was something else going on systemically, in the rest of the body, that could explain all this destruction. We all know the standard risk factors for osteoarthritis. The usual suspects are things like age, your family history, joint overuse, or a past injury. But for EOA, a new and really powerful suspect emerged from the data. And this one wasn't just about mechanical wear and tear. It was a connection to the body's metabolism. And this is the bombshell finding. The study found that people with erosive OA had 4.7 times the odds of also having something called dyslipidemia. That's just a term for abnormal levels of fats like cholesterol in the blood. Now, this was compared to people with severe but non-erosive OA. This wasn't a small difference. This was a huge statistical signal pointing straight at a metabolic problem. This link to abnormal blood fats is actually part of a bigger picture called metabolic syndrome. It's not a single disease, but a whole cluster of conditions. A diagnosis usually means you have 3 or more of the issues you see here: a BMI over 30, high blood pressure, that dyslipidemia we just talked about, and high blood sugar or type 2 diabetes. The study found EOA patients were far more likely to have this whole syndrome, which strongly suggests this isn't just about joints. It's tied to body-wide metabolic health. So now the investigation has kind of hit a wall. You've got the joint damage pattern screaming severe OA, but this powerful metabolic link suggests something entirely different is going on. And this contradiction, it forced other researchers to zoom out and ask a radical question. What if we've been looking in the wrong places all along? For decades, erosive OA was really only considered a disease of the finger joints. But is the hand truly the whole story? What if this erosive culprit was hiding out in other parts of the body too? It turns out, newer research has found that the same kind of erosive damage isn't just confined to those classic finger joints.
It's also being identified in the thumb-base joints and, maybe most surprisingly, in the small facet joints that connect the vertebrae in your spine.
And what's really fascinating is that these different locations seem to have different profiles. Classic EOA, the finger joints, for example, predominantly affects females. But the erosive damage at the base of the thumb, that's actually more frequent in men. A difference like that suggests they aren't just one disease manifesting everywhere, but possibly distinct subsets of a larger condition. So all of this evidence, the unique metabolic link, the discovery of different disease profiles in different joints, it's all led to a new way of thinking about erosive osteoarthritis. The old, narrow definition just doesn't seem to fit the facts anymore. So based on all this, a new classification is being proposed. Instead of one single entity, researchers are suggesting we should think of erosive OA as a family of conditions, which includes at least these three main subtypes. And this isn't just academic. By separating these, doctors can start looking for different causes and, hopefully, develop more targeted treatments for each specific type. So what's the big takeaway here? The painful mystery of erosive osteoarthritis is far from solved, but the clues are leading us to a much richer, much deeper understanding. It's not simply bad OA, and it's not just one single disease. For patients, this redefinition is a really crucial step. It means their condition might be better understood, which could lead to more accurate diagnoses and future treatments that could target the root metabolic causes, not just the symptoms. As the researchers themselves conclude, it's time for a redefinition, which leaves us with a final thought. What other secrets are our most common diseases hiding, just waiting for us to look at the evidence in a new light?